All right. Well, hello, Yankees fans. For those of you who don't watch the New York Knicks, welcome back. It's been a while, maybe about a month or so, maybe longer since we talked New York Yankees baseball. It is, as I record, Tuesday night, the 18th of November. A lot has happened since we last spoke. Aaron Judge just recently won the MVP. Ryan Yarbrough was retained. Ryan Yarborough's honestly a Yankee I forgot about. And Trent Grisham was also retained. And so we're going to dive into that mostly in this show. Because that's a pretty big move. Trent Grisham was obviously acquired 2 years ago. He was acquired, was it 2 years? Yeah, it's 2 years coming up in December. He was a throw-in in that Juan Soto deal. Had a decent first year in pinstripes. Didn't play a ton, but he had some big hits. And then this past season, some things happen where he gets reps early on in the season, and he doesn't slow down, and he becomes a staple in their lineup who starts playoff games for them. Right? He had himself a career best season, doubling the power output in his best previous seasons. 235 average, 811 OPS, a 129 WRC plus, hit 34 home runs for the Yankees, drove in 74 runs. So he earned himself a payday. Maybe a week or so ago, the Yankees offered him the qualifying deal that every team usually offers. It was $22 million roughly for 2026. And his decision was due today. And I'm a bit shocked. First, I'm shocked for him. Even with Yankee Stadium being perfect for him and his swing, maybe it's not going to work out in a lot of other ballparks. But the center field market is pretty thin. A lot of teams are looking for left-handed thump. It's a guy with a good eye. And, he's got experience as a veteran outfielder in this league. I feel like he could have gotten 3 or 4 years somewhere else. But now he's betting on himself to have another good season and stay healthy so he can get that contract next year. Kind of taking the Gleyber Torres route. So, yes, I think it's surprising a lot of us because, listen, I think he'll be great. I think he'll hit. I think he'll be very good. I don't expect some super decline. I think in Yankee Stadium, he'll be fine. Athletically, he's falling off. He's definitely fallen off a little bit athletically, which is a bit concerning, like the age, and he's not as explosive as he once was. He definitely lost a step, didn't cover as much ground in center field like he did in the past. He was -2 outs above average in the outfield this year, -3 fielding run value. He was 32nd percentile sprint speed, so that's not great for a center fielder. On the bases, he was a -3 value there. So the athleticism, that's definitely dropping off. You can't really do anything about that. But I think the bat will repeat. Maybe he won't repeat and hit 34 more home runs, but I think he'll be another good hitter next year. So it's not really the deal itself that's looming pessimism. What I'm curious about is how the Yankees go about this now. Because they're trying to improve in a postseason where the Yankees were a first round exit. Trent Grisham, who was making $5 million last year, he gets a raise. That pay jump is almost $20 million more. And let's say you do retain Bellinger, who, from everything we're hearing about, the Yankees are going hard after him. He's going to get a raise. So you're bringing back the same group, but already a lot more money on payroll, which is going to remove a lot of their flexibility. And obviously for a team that operates differently than they used to, it makes you question, right? Because you look at the holes that the Yankees need to address. And it's not a ton, but still, with the money that they're now tying themselves into, especially if they do go and retain Bellinger, you think about this roster and it's like, with the Carlos Rodon injury and probably a regression year from him because he's older and I just don't know if he's going to repeat what he did. With Clark Schmidt being out and with the uncertainty surrounding Garrett Cole, can never just count on him to come back and be peak form. He's coming off Tommy John at an older age. The Yankees need another top line starting pitcher. That's got to be on their list. And you look at the bullpen, you could use help in the back of that bullpen, a reliever, maybe two relievers. One of those relievers should probably be a brand name, which is going to cost some money if they do that. Because you need velocity in the back of that bullpen. Not having firepower in the back of their pen was a big problem this past season. So that all means the Yankees are going to need to increase payroll by a lot if they want to improve this roster. That got eliminated in the first round. And even if it's not a ton of moves, which they don't need to make a ton of moves. Again, I think the roster itself is really good. It's still making a couple of moves for a decent name or two is going to cost them a lot more money now already because of the Grisham deal. So I don't know. Maybe the Yankees just offered the QO and they didn't really expect him to accept it. They were just like, all right, here, we'll throw you a bone. But yeah, is Hal willing to blow past that $305 million figure, whatever it was at this past offseason or last offseason? Is he willing to go past that by a lot? If there's one thing that you can guarantee from this, it takes the Yankees out of the Kyle Tucker sweepstakes. Okay, whatever. I was kind of wanting them to do that. I think it would have been great for the Yankees to have that second superstar. I think every team that is expected to compete with the Dodgers, who are in the midst of their dynasty right now, kind of needs star power. And the Yankees, after losing that second superstar who, produced the big hit to get them to the World Series 2 years ago, were the complete opposite in the postseason this year as a first-round exit. So I think that's kind of a mistake, not even thinking about Kyle Tucker. And it's funny because when I wanted the Yankees to initially trade for Tucker, all I heard was, well, just wait until he becomes a free agent. When he becomes a free agent, you just do it then. It's less risky. And now all those same people are advocating for the Yankees to just bring back Bellinger because he's cheaper and it's the nostalgic move. But listen, I can put that aside, my bitterness about that, because you look at this lineup on paper and what they did last year, they should be good enough, right? I believe the way that the Yankees built their lineup, I think it's perfect for the modern age. I think the way they built it, you've got left-handed power, and those guys tailor their swings to get the right launch angles and the right exit velocities to abuse that short porch. I think the Yankees planned that perfectly last year, and that's why they had such a remarkable offensive season. One of the problems I have with the old school mindset from a lot of us Yankees fans is that if something hasn't happened yet, it's never going to happen. Like with this lineup, again, that I really truly believe is perfectly built to win in October, and it has everything you want for the modern age, their struggles this past postseason doesn't guarantee that they're going to continue to struggle going forward. I think, the Yankee lefties had issues with Gosman's splitter and Trey Savage's splitter, but it's not a permanent thing. Like, baseball's not black and white like that. Just because they didn't do it this year doesn't mean they have to prove themselves to do it. Of course they have to prove themselves, but doesn't mean I should just expect them to fall flat again and now we have to reshape this entire lineup. No. Like, I think if you're thinking that way, you just have to think about how did Stanton do this postseason? And how did he do in his past postseasons? How did Aaron Judge do this postseason? How did Aaron Judge do in the past postseasons? It can flip just like that. So I think this idea that they're not built properly lineup-wise for October, I think it's a little crazy. I think the idea that contact wins is false, and I think it's a little outdated. Of course, they could maybe use a little bit more contact, but honestly, I'm not going to kill myself over contact hitting in an era where power wins, in an era where superstars win. Otherwise, the Dodgers wouldn't have won. If we're talking about contact being king, the Milwaukee Brewers wouldn't have been swept by the Dodgers in the LCS like they did. The small ball Brewers would have won the World Series. If contact was king the last 5 postseasons, teams that out-homer their opponent wouldn't be winning at an 800 clip. Higher than 800. It's almost closer to 850 than it is 800. So the Yankees didn't lose in the postseason to me because they hit too many home runs. That's crazy. What's that even mean? A home run literally guarantees you a run. That's the point of the game. They lost because they didn't hit enough of those things. Toronto hit 9 home runs in that series against the Yankees. The Yankees only hit 4. Nobody wants to mention that 9. So I don't think the lineup is some big issue. But I think how the Yankees go after attacking the rest of their roster after this Grisham move is the bigger issue now. How do they get starting pitching? How do they get relief pitching? I think they also have to think about some of the controllable players on their roster right now and the future of them. What does this mean for Spencer Jones once he's ready to come up? First base, Judge going to see more DH. Stanton's still clocking that spot. Is Stanton going to be healthy? What's the outfield look like? What about Jason Dominguez? And that's what I want to touch on next. I want to talk about the future of the guy who was once compared to Bo Jackson and Mickey Mantle and Mike Trout, and a guy who's called the Martian. The number 1 prospect in this organization for years, was here since he was 17. I want to talk about that guy, Jason the Martian Dominguez, when we return from break. Stay with us. Be back in just a sec.
Quick break here, guys. Stay connected with BD4 on social media. Follow us on Instagram and X at BD4Pod, and find us on Facebook by searching BD4. Don't miss out. Join the conversation. Want more BD4? Subscribe to our YouTube channel and never miss an episode. Hit that like button, drop a comment, and share with your fellow fans. Don't forget to ring that bell so you're always the first to know when a new video drops.
Okay, welcome back to the show. Welcome back to BD4 episode 928. I appreciate you all for listening to the podcast. Maybe you're watching on YouTube or Spotify as well. Jason Dominguez's future, at least with the Yankees, just became much less possible. Jason Dominguez is an interesting player now because he's gotten some big league experience. And, you know, when you're a prospect, it's all rainbows and love and flowers. When you get to the big leagues, you're expected to produce on this team in New York City, right? And when you don't, you get a lot of criticism. When you do, you're the best guy in the world. I feel like Dominguez's rookie season last year, it was overall fine. I don't think it was great. I don't think it was terrible. I think he had a fine rookie season. I think he displayed some very interesting things I think you definitely noticed the raw power in there. Even if it wasn't fully tapped into, there was some power in there. He hit 10 home runs. He had 47 RBIs through 429 plate appearances. So if you project that across, let's say, 600 plate appearances, that's about 15 and 65. It's fine for a first-year player. And then you look under the hood a little bit. He had a 50% hard hit rate, which put him in the 85th percentile. That's considered elite. 91 miles an hour exit velo, 63rd percentile. That's above average. His bat speed was 74 miles per hour. That's in the 80th percentile. Elite-ish, right? So the power, you can see there's something there with some tweaks, more selectiveness, maybe a tweak on the swing, left-handed, right-handed. You could see the power was there. He had a 420 slug as a left-handed hitter. The hit tool is clearly there too. Just talking straight up, somebody who can get on base and pick up hits. He had a 257 average, a 331 on base. The major league average is 245 for batting average and a 315 for on base. You go to his splits from the left side of the plate, a 274 average, 348 on base. He also had overall a 10% walk rate, which was 67th percentile. So he was pretty selective at the plate, could take a walk. And he's already an elite base runner, which is, I think a lot of people forget about that part of the game. Jason Dominguez was so impactful in such a positive way on the bases for the Yankees, just in terms of creating and producing offense with his legs. There was a lot of the time where he was advancing extra bases off of base hits that he shouldn't have been on third, like going from first to third, going from first to home, second to home on shallow balls, just getting places that not a lot of players can get to. 23 stolen bases on an 82% success rate. If you look at his sprint speed, 29 feet per second, that's 84th percentile, so very good. So the athleticism's there, which gives you some hope that he can improve in the outfield, getting to balls. But yeah, you definitely also saw those deficiencies, right? Playing the outfield, the glove wasn't great. I think a lot of the reads were very poor, making some poor routes. He was erratic going back, a little too conservative coming in. I think his swing decisions, I think there's still room to improve there. He's still adjusting to a major league pitch mix. We had a 27% K rate this past season, which placed him in the 14th percentile. He chased 31% of the time. That's in the 31st percentile. And he swung and missed at a pitch 27% of the time, which put him in the 31st percentile for whiff rate. So, yeah, there were definitely some struggles where he would have issues against glove side spin and those left on right breaking balls. Changeups gave him problems, but even sweepers and sliders too. And I think that affected his power some. I think a lot of us want to see him pull the ball in the air a little bit more, and that's going to help him tap into that power. But I think overall, he showed you why the Yankees like him. And if he's not going to be this superstar, I think he's definitely found his place as a fringe all-star player in this league. I think that's probably his ceiling, and I do think he has a low floor. I think he has a high floor to where he's an above-average bat or an above-average offensive player. So I think with that, the very worst thing the Yankees can do with Jason Dominguez after this Grisham deal is keep drifting with him like they've been. Because they've never really fully committed to him, right? Last year they didn't fully commit to him because his bat wasn't standout enough to offset the glove issues or Grisham's breakout season, which is understandable on a World Series contender. But now with Trent Grisham back and the Yankees most likely they've just never really been committed to Grisham full time. They've always been very iffy of him. You wonder where that puts him now. And I think the only outcome we have left is trading Jason Dominguez. The thing with that is, like, his trade value is very low right now. And that is the absolute worst thing to do, is trade this big hyped up prospect when his value's at his worst. I think the best bet right now with Dominguez is you maybe platoon him with Trent Grisham for a bit at the beginning of the season to get him to get the most out of his bat. You protect him from the issues on the right side of the plate, platoon him a little bit, and then you use that. Once he raises that value up, you trade him for a top flight arm, maybe mid-season. But, like, you can't bury him and never play him. You can't really demote him anymore. I don't think that's going to do much. And you can't trade him right now for Joe Random, because you're not, it's not enough. He needs to build up some value if you're going to make that move. You have to be very patient and very smart with it. Just like the Yankees are smart with Spencer Jones. Before last season, Spencer Jones' trade value was very low, but he had himself a great year and he built it back up. So they have options with some of these controllable prospects on their team in their organization, but financially it does get interesting now. So that's really all I want to go into. It's going to be just a quick episode tonight. I just wanted to hit on the news. But yeah, those are my thoughts on that. So we will wrap this one up when we get back. Maybe talk about a few things that we didn't touch on. Stay with us. Be back in a sec.
Love BD4 but don't have the time to sit down and watch? Don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcasts and Spotify so you never miss an episode. And if you're enjoying the show, leave us a 5-star rating and a quick review. It helps us grow and keeps the conversation going.
Okay. So, Trent Grisham back with the Yankees makes some very interesting conversation going forward now. We just talked about that, so I hope you guys appreciated my thoughts there for about 20 minutes. And what happens the rest of the way? We'll see about the starting pitching market. We'll see about the bullpen. Do they go after an infielder? Obviously there's a conversation about Anthony Volpe. There always is. The shortstop market is very thin. Do you go after Bo Bichette? I don't know. Do you want to pay that much money to a guy who is one of the worst shortstops in baseball? He can hit, but he's got a terrible glove. Do you go after someone like Miguel Rojas, who's similar to Volpe in that he's not a great hitter, but he's a great glove? He's a veteran who's won World Series, and maybe he's your one-year stopgap until Lombard's ready. I don't know. Do you just stick with Volpe for one more year? You expect him to be healthier and play better shortstop, even if the bat's not good. If the shortstop improves, that's already a better player than you got this past season. So that's a conversation. Again, we mentioned Ryan Yarbrough coming back. That's nice. Trying to think of anything else that's been in the rumor mill. Byron Buxton. Yeah, there were some rumors about that. I guess that's over now. I assume that's over now. Some pitching rumors. Mike King reunion. We'll see. Tarek Skubal. That's big drama in Detroit right now. Paul Skeens apparently wants to play for the Yankees. So lots and lots of rumors right now. I'm curious, though, to see where the Yankees go from here, how they work around this $22 million deal that they gave Trent Grisham. So they're going to have to spend a ton. The poor little Yankees and then their dry wallets, they're going to have to spend some more money. So that's what I got for you. Appreciate you all. I really do appreciate you, and I'll see you soon. Later. Hey guys, thank you for listening to BD4. Be sure to follow us on social media, subscribe to us on YouTube, and give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. We'll see you next time.